Helen Smith was walking slowly along the bank of the river, stopping occasionally. The fact was that she was 5 months pregnant, so she got tired pretty quickly. But suddenly, her thoughts about what to cook for dinner tonight were interrupted by a noise coming from another part of the embankment. Looking closely, she saw 3 people kicking a 4th man who was lying on the ground. "If I see you here again, you will regret it," one of them shouted. Seeing this scene, Helen immediately rushed to rescue. "Get off him or I'll call the police," she screamed. The attackers did not want to mess with either the police or the pregnant girl, so they began to retreat. Meanwhile, Helen was helping the poor man to get up. It was a nice guy who, despite everything what had just happened to him, were smiling at his savior. "Why did they attack you?" Helen asked. "I don't know. It seems they didn't like the way I look. I have just arrived in New York. I'm from a small town. I work in construction. I just asked them how to get to the shopping center," the young man replied. He said his name was Francis Wright. He was from a poor family, and there was almost no work in his hometown, so he decided to go to a big city. "Thanks for your help. This is the first time I've been saved by a woman," the guy said with a smile. After talking for another half hour, Francis had to say goodbye, as his night shift was about to begin. The girl also went home. However, when she turned onto a familiar street, she saw that the light in the windows of her and Sam's house was off. What happened? Is he still at work? She thought anxiously. But when the girl went home, she saw a note on the table. It was handwritten by Sam. The young man told he was leaving her for another woman, and he had made this decision a long time ago. Just was waiting for the right moment to say. For Helen, this was a big blow. She couldn't believe that her beloved one was leaving her alone with their baby. The time before the delivery passed for her as in a fog, and only the birth of Alan gave the girl strength and help not to fall into a deep depression. There was no one to help her, because Helen had grown up in an orphanage and never knew her parents. Therefore, she had to cope with all the problems herself. So 6 years passed, but then the life of the mother and the son changed for the worse. The fact was that Alan was diagnosed with congenital heart disease. Only a complicated and expensive operation could save the boy. "Where can I get that kind of money?" Helen thought desperately. She worked as a waitress in a cafe and her salary was small. Then she decided to contact the father of the child, but found out that he had been in prison. His parents couldn't help either, because they had spent all their savings on lawyers. Returning home, the girl was walking along the same embankment where she had helped Francis several years ago. Her eyes were streaming tears. Suddenly, she heard a voice behind her. "Helen, hi. Wow, you haven't changed at all." When she turned, she saw Francis, who was smiling. He was mature, well-dressed, and looked like a successful businessman. "It's you. I thought you left for your hometown a long time ago," the girl exclaimed. "I decided to stay, earned money, and opened my own construction company," the guy answered. "Why are you so sad? What happened?" Helen began to cry and told the young man about her problem. "Don't cry. I think I can help you," Francis replied. "I have savings, and I can mortgage my house." The girl could not believe what she had just heard. She hugged the man tightly. She never thought that the young man she had once come to the rescue would thank her in such a way. It took Francis a week to raise money for the operation and Alan's future rehabilitation. His acquaintance with Helen first grew into a strong friendship and then into a romantic relationship. A year later, they got married, and a couple of months after the wedding, they informed Alan that he would soon have a brother or sister.